It's been a while that I've been learning about Arduinos and sensors, so finally I have decided to make a car that moves forward, backward and turns left and right. This is my first goal, so let's get started. To do this, we need a chassis. I'm using metallic chassis so that it will be strong. The other thing is I'm using DC motor, which is a geared motor. It is 12 volt DC motor. The advantage of this is it has got a bolt which will make easier for us to mount it on the chassis. The wheels that I'm using has got 7 cm as the diameter and 4 cm as the wideness. I'm using Arduino Nano as the microcontroller. You can use any of the one like Arduino Uno, Mega or any board that you have. The connections are same. I'm using breadboard to mount the Arduino Nano so that it will be easier for us to connect the cables. I'm also using L298N motor driver to run the motors. You can check the link in the description to know how this motor driver works. I'm also using some jumper cables, some male to female and some male to male. First of all, I'll take all the 4 motors and remove the bolt from it to mount it on the chassis. Since this chassis have got holes to mount the motors, so it will be easier for us to do. Remove the bolt from the motor. Do this process for all the 4 motors. Now take the chassis and start mounting the motors. Repeat this process for all the 4 motors. We have completed mounting the motors. Now separate the wires. The 4 wires from the left side will be in one pair and the 4 wires from the right side of the motor will be in the another pair. Since our motor driver have only 2 terminals for the motor, but it is capable of driving these 4 motors, so we'll use 2 motors in parallel from the left side and 2 motors in parallel from the right hand side. The circuit diagram, program code and all the necessary information will be available in the description, so please check it out. The wires are finally separated. Now we can move into further steps. Take the double-sided tape so that you can stick the motor driver and Arduino Uno on the chassis. Now start connecting the motors to the motor driver. Now take 4 jumper cables, male to female. Connect IN1, IN2, IN3 and IN4 of motor driver to digital pin 2, 3, 4 and 5 respectively. Now take 2 male to male jumper cables and connect it to V in pin of Arduino and ground of Arduino. Now these cables will provide the power to the Arduino board. Power all the motors and the components of the car, I'm using this homemade battery pack. The battery pack is of 12 volts and I have already installed the switch as well. Now take the double-sided tape to stick the battery on the chassis. Connect the positive terminal of the battery to the 12 volt terminal of the motor driver. Now take the ground pin of the Arduino and the ground pin of the battery and connect them together. Turn on the switch and check whether the LED is glowing on both the modules or not. If the LED is glowing on Arduino as well as on motor driver module, then the VCC and the ground connections are correctly connected. Now let's look into the program code. In void setup section, I have defined pin number 2, 3, 4 and 5 as an output pins. In the loop section, in the first condition, the car will move forward for 5 seconds. I have used a digital write function, and in the second condition, the car will stop. And in the third condition, the car will move backward. The fourth condition, the car will stop for again 5 seconds. In the fifth condition, the car will turn left. And in sixth condition, the car will stop for 5 seconds, and in the 7th and 8th condition, the car will turn right for 5 seconds and then stop. So this process will repeat again and again until and unless you don't turn off the switch. So that's all about the program code. Now let's see what happens in the hardware. As the program code is uploaded and the motor has started rotating, it can be seen that the motor is rotating in the correct direction. Whenever it has to rotate in the forward or clockwise direction, the motor is rotating, and whenever it has to rotate in the counterclockwise direction, the motor is rotating accordingly. Now let's attach the wheels to the motor shaft and then see what are the things that are to be improved. The wheels are finally attached to the motor shaft. Now let's see how it works. One of the wheels was not rotating properly, so it was because of the gear inside the motor. So I tried to rotate the wheel with my hand, and after that the motor started rotating properly in the proper direction. It seems that all the motors are working properly and it is rotating in the proper direction. So now it's time to check in the larger area. The car worked properly and fulfilled all the requirements that we had. But yet there are a lot of things that are to be improved, like the speed of the motors, the speed before stopping the car, the control of the car, and many more other things that are to be improved. So in the next video we will be implementing all those things and improve the performance of the car and also add some manual control. So stay tuned for the upcoming video. If you like this video, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe the channel, and stay tuned for upcoming videos. Thank you for watching and have a great time.